Hello, I am taking on a challenge to beat every playable Nintendo published game. Welcome to the next episode. The next game is Head on N. When I first saw the title, I thought by Head on N it meant something like the head was on the N, whatever that even means. It turns out this one was actually a game licensed to Nintendo by Sega Gremlin. The original was called Head On, like a head-on collision, and the N just meant that it was the Nintendo version. Unlike Nintendo, Gremlin, who had just recently been acquired by Sega, were not just in the business to copy others. Before this, they had created Blockade, the first Snake game. This game, Head On, was the first maze game to feature collectible pellets as an objective, a gameplay mechanic that would later be a major component of the smash hit Pac-Man. Head On was a commercial success for Sega Gremlin, and for whatever reason, they worked with Nintendo to release a licensed clone of the game, Head On N. The only difference as far as I could tell between Head On and Head On N is that the Nintendo version was oriented vertically instead of horizontally, and it featured a slightly different color palette. So, how does this game actually work? You play as a car driving in a loop, where you can change which lane of the loop you want to be in at different parts of the track. The objective is to collect all the yellow pellets. There's another car driving around the course controlled by the CPU. While they can't collect pellets, if you run into them, you cause a head-on collision and have to start the level over. For whatever reason, this CPU car really wants to hit you. Come on, isn't a crash bad for the CPU too? Oh yeah, for some reason, the red car will occasionally place red dots over the yellow pellets. When I first played the game, I thought these were mines and should be avoided, but I couldn't have been more wrong. When the pellets turn red, they're actually worth more points and is beneficial to run over them. In some ways, this game kind of reminded me of the minecart minigame from Donkey Kong 64. One of the first things I noticed when I booted up the game was just how awful the sound effects were while you were changing lanes. These sounds are somehow even worse than the driving noise from Color TV Game Racing 112. I'm not sure if they thought having loud screeching noises made it cooler or something, but it was way too much. My only real objective here was to beat at least one level. On my first attempt, I didn't realize that there was a speed up button, which was crucial to survival. Because of this, I had my first head-on collision, which featured an incredible explosion sprite to capture just how bad this collision was. Brutal. After this, I discovered the speed up button and managed to beat the first level pretty easily. On the second level, the CPU car got a little smarter and learned how to change two lanes at once. I died pretty soon after this. While I had already accomplished my initial goal, I wanted to play a little more than one round, so I decided to try and beat my high score. My second run didn't go quite as well, and I wasn't even able to beat my previous score, and my third run didn't go much better. Finally, on my fourth run, I managed to get a better score. Still never managed to get past level 2 though. And with that, the game was complete. Or was it? While writing the script, I did some research and found out that you had to beat 2 stages for the loops to complete. With each loop, more CPU cars were added, up to a maximum of 3 cars. It didn't feel right putting this game to rest without seeing this mechanic, so I decided to revisit the game and try to beat an actual loop and see more cars get added. By this point, I had learned how to increase the lives on the machines, a feature that was present on the original arcade machines if the owner wanted to tweak them. Coming back to the game, I realized just how hard this game actually was. It's really easy to get yourself stuck in a position where you have no hope of escaping a head-on collision. And this only gets worse as more cars are added. Thankfully, the single car was manageable enough that I made it past the first loop and a second car was added. While this was the main goal I set out to accomplish, I decided to see if I could get to the third loop where the third car is added. This turned out to be way more difficult than I had anticipated. After an hour of attempts, the closest I got was a single game where I made it to level 4, meaning I was one win away from seeing the third car. However, at this point, I had been playing for a while and had already accomplished my goal, so I decided to call it quits. On to the review. Honestly, I didn't find this game to be all that special. The core mechanic works well enough, but there just isn't a whole lot there. I found Space Fever to be more fun, and the lack of variety hurt this one a bit too. I don't think it's a bad game, I just found it to be on the less remarkable side. In the end, I gave it a 5 out of 10. Thanks for watching the video. If you want to see more of these in the future, make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you won't miss out on the next one. Also leave a like if you enjoyed it, since it'll help the channel grow and motivate me to continue the series. I hope I'll see you in the next step of my quest to beat every Nintendo game.